Divine manifestation. Prophetic changes confirmed for the chosen ones this autumn equinox. 3 days of powerful faith and healing await. As the ripened leaves danced in the cool wind, the quaint village nestled among rolling hills hummed with whispers of anticipation. Margaret, a woman of unwavering faith and gentle spirit, felt the urgency within her, a divine pulse echoing in her heart. The townsfolk were burdened, their smiles fading as they faced the looming shadow of illness. George, a beloved father and husband, showed signs of battling a heartbreaking terminal cancer. Was hope slipping away? Margaret took it upon herself to gather the community. "Come to the chapel tonight," she urged, "for a mighty miracle awaits us." The townspeople's skepticism was palpable, mingling with the anxiety that lurked in their hearts. Tongues wagged, some jeered, while others worried that earnest prayer might divert them from medical help. But Margaret, undeterred, knew deep down that prayer was their greatest weapon against despair. That evening, as the sun sank behind the hills, casting a golden glow over the chapel, the air thickened with tension. Candles flickered like hearts yearning for light, and as Margaret led the assembly in passionate prayer, a swell of faith began to rise. She called upon St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless causes, imploring for divine intervention, a surge of heavenly power to awaken hope and heal George. "Lord, we stand united. Lift our brother to you," she cried, her voice echoing against the sacred stone walls. At that moment, an urgency pulsed through the chapel, hearts warmed by the collective hope. But as time dragged on, the flicker of faith dimmed, whispers of doubt creeping in. Yet, amid that thick silence, Margaret felt it. A radiant light danced within her, igniting a deep assurance that a miracle was indeed unfolding. Each prayer, every whispered hope, poured into her spirit. "Let us pray with fervor," she proclaimed, her fervor infectious. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable energy filled the room, hearts beating as one. Just before the pivotal act of faith, Margaret's heart beat fervently, and she cried, "Father, grant George a miracle." That fervent plea echoed into the night. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Suddenly, a stillness enveloped the village, and then there was movement. George's family huddled at his bedside, clinging to each moment. As Margaret continued in prayer, a quietness fell like a thick veil. Time seemed to halt. Then, out of nowhere, George opened his eyes wide. "I am healed," he declared with newfound strength, shocking his family and enveloping the room with astonishment. Margaret gasped. Joy flooded her heart. This magnificent renewal rippled through the chapel, igniting a fresh wave of belief. The villagers poured forth their gratitude, their spirits soaring. Joy spilled out into the streets, a radiant light bursting forth from the divine manifestation. A unity began to rise among them, as hope grabbed hold of weary souls. As the community basked in this awe-inspiring moment, Margaret's heart wrestled with a profound question. Was this healing a gift for them all or a reward for her faith? Gazing at swirling, golden autumn leaves, she sensed a depth of divine mystery still waiting to unfold. What more might this autumn equinox reveal? What whispers of faith and the power of prayer lay ahead? The morning after George's miraculous revelation, the village awoke, bathed in soft golden light. Whispers of joy fluttered like butterflies through the streets. Margaret felt a kindling of hope in her heart, yet alongside it lay a peculiar sense of responsibility. How could she, a simple woman, carry this gift bestowed upon them? Every face she met radiated a newfound vitality, yet they all turned toward her, looking for some sign, some understanding of the miracle they had witnessed. She was their shepherd, guiding them towards divine love. As they gathered in the chapel once more, anticipation crackled in the air. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, alive with the spirits of faith-filled hearts. Margaret stood at the altar, the faint aroma of burning candles dancing around her, and gazed out at her friends. They were eager for answers. "What do we do now?" A voice piped up from the congregation. It was Jacob, an elderly farmer, his brow creased with concern. "What if this healing was merely a fragment of what God has planned?" Margaret replied, "What if we are called to gather our faiths, to seek deeper than what we see?" Her words hung in the air like a promise, laden with both hope and challenge. As the days unfolded, the village became a tapestry of testimonies. People spoke of dreams, of visions, indicating a greater calling. Margaret felt enveloped in divine guidance as she witnessed the enthusiasm growing among the townsfolk. Conversations turned into prayer meetings, and prayer meetings stirred into workshops of compassion and service. One day, during a gathering at the chapel, a young woman named Clara stood up. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she confessed, "I had long battled with addiction. It held me in chains. But when I saw George's healing, I felt a flicker of faith ignite in me." The room pulsed with emotion as others began to share their struggles, their burdens. Each story echoed beneath the wooden beams of the chapel, weaving a stronger bond among them. Margaret placed a comforting hand on Clara's shoulder. "You are not alone. We are all walking this journey together, tethered by love and faith." With each revelation, they felt drawn closer to the divine. Their prayers grew fervent. Yet, in the heart of all this unity, Margaret wondered, was this the extent of God's plan? She could almost hear the whispers of the Holy Spirit beckoning her to something greater. One crisp morning, while praying by the serene riverbank, she caught a glimpse of something glimmering beneath the surface. A light shone like the dawn. "Is this another manifestation, Lord? What do you wish for us to unearth?" she murmured, kneeling beside the water. Her heart raced, sensing the urgency. The sense of anticipation built within her chest like the moment before a summer storm. Margaret felt she was on the verge of something transformational, something beyond her comprehension. As she contemplated the river's mysteries, a thought crossed her mind. Could the true gift of the autumn equinox lay not merely in the healing they had witnessed, but in an unveiling of something greater, a call to discover deeper truths about faith and divine purpose? Margaret took a deep breath, feeling a chill run through her. Was the river merely a reflection of her thoughts, or was there a sign promising divine revelation waiting for her to uncover? What awaited them in the depths of their faith? What other mysteries would unfold as they continued to gather in love and unity? And would the village dare to dream beyond their healing? Perhaps the answers lied just beneath the surface. The sun glimmered through the autumn leaves, casting a warm glow over Margaret as she knelt beside the river. The gentle babbling of the water seemed to echo her heart's longings. She could feel God stirring within her, urging her to look deeper. The light beneath the surface pulsed with promise. In that moment, a ripple disturbed the calm water. A fish darted through, leaving her momentarily spellbound. Its shining scales flickered, creating a mosaic of vibrant colors. "What are you trying to show me, Lord?" she whispered, hoping the answer would wash over her like the flowing river. Days passed, filled with a growing restlessness within Margaret's spirit. The townsfolk had formed a circle of joy, yet she sensed an undercurrent of yearning for something more, something divine. They shared their dreams and visions, but what was waiting beyond their understanding? At their next gathering, an unspoken energy crackled in the air. Margaret stood before the congregation, her heart ablaze with emotion as she gazed into their expectant faces. "Brothers and sisters, we have seen God's hand upon us in George's healing. It's incredible and beautiful, but I believe this is just the beginning. We are called to step forward into our faith together." Her voice trembled, yet she felt anchored by the Spirit. "I feel it too," Jacob replied, his voice strong in the crowd. Perhaps we are meant to be vessels, each with a purpose to fulfill. Excitement rippled through the congregation, eyes lighting up with hope. Clara rose to speak again, her face radiant. I had a vision last night. I saw us reaching out, sharing our stories not just here, but beyond our village. There are many souls in need of healing, just as George was. We must not keep this blessing to ourselves. Margaret's heart soared at her words. If we could reach out beyond these walls, we would spark a flame of hope. But how? She felt a pull towards that shimmering river again, sensing its sacred call for action. As they prayed together, an overwhelming sense of clarity washed over Margaret. Let us organize a community gathering by the river, a day of sharing, testimony, and worship. We can invite neighboring villages so they can experience this light. Cheers erupted. A spirit of excitement wrapped around them like a warm embrace, fueling their determination. The river would become not only a symbol of healing, but a source of connection. With the arrangements underway, Margaret often found herself by the riverbank, seeking further understanding. Each time she approached the water, it felt as if the currents carried whispers. It was more than a passable stream. It was alive and vibrant, a powerful conduit of divine presence. Margaret could almost envision the tribes and families gathered along the river. They would come with open hearts, eager to share their stories and find healing. The thought quickened her pulse, making the moment feel pregnant with possibility. "Lord, I see it now," she murmured aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. "You desire transformation, not just for us, but for all who will come. This river will be the bridge of hope." Yet, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. What if people didn't respond? What if they couldn't look past their own burdens to see that shining light? But as she took a breath, the gentle rustling of leaves reassured her. God was working, and faith could move mountains. The gathering day approached swiftly, and Margaret felt both ecstatic and terrified. Excitement mixed with trepidation as she wondered if their humble village could truly make a difference. With unity growing among them, they forged ahead, fueled by hope and love. But the river, it held mysteries yet unspoken. What other signs awaited them? What miracles would unfold when they stood hand in hand, believing together? The autumn air swirled around her, electric with anticipation. As she looked upon the horizon, she sensed that the river would reveal even more than she could imagine. Would they embrace the unknown? Would their faith shine through the darkness? The question lingered like the fragrance of fallen leaves filled with expectancy, leading into the unknown embrace of divine light. What awaited them at the water's edge? The day of gathering arrived, wrapped in a brilliant tapestry of scarlet and gold. The river sparkled under the midday sun, inviting all who saw it to pause and take in its wonders. As townsfolk trickled to the water's edge, Margaret felt her heart swell with joy and apprehension. Their footfalls echoed like ripples across the water, each step a testament to their faith and hope. As she looked across the gathering crowd, she marveled at the faces of those she had walked alongside. Children giggled, families embraced, and the elderly whispered tales of days gone by. Yet underneath it all, there was an unmistakable current of expectation. A deep, spiritual yearning resonated among them, a collective pulse synchronizing in anticipation of something greater. Margaret stood, a small wicker basket cradled in her arms, filled to the brim with candles. Each flame would symbolize a prayer, a hope sent upwards to the Lord. She glanced at Jacob and Clara, who were busy preparing the space, arranging cushions on the ground, and ensuring everyone felt welcomed and cherished. "Let us begin," she called gently, though the words already shivered with excitement. As they gathered around the riverbank, the laughter faded into a sacred hush. The sound of the flowing river became a soft symphony, reminding them of God's presence as they sought his guidance. Margaret took a deep breath, her spiraling thoughts transformed into a quiet prayer. "Lord, let this gathering be a beacon of your love. Shine through us and guide our hearts." Clara stepped forward, her voice steady and filled with light. We are here, united in purpose. Let us share our stories, our testimonies, and our visions of hope. With each story shared, laughter and tears mingled like the golden hues reflected in the moving water. George recounted his healing, how he had once been a shadow of himself, yet now stood tall, vibrant, and alive, smiling with a joy that illuminated the heart of the community. Then, Jacob stood to share his own experience, speaking of the heaviness that once wrapped itself around him like a fog. He recounted how the simple act of faith led him out of despair. And as he told his transformation, his words became a melody of worship that resonated through the crowd. One by one, voices rose like incense, a fragrant offering to God, wrapping around them. Each testimony was a small spark igniting the flame of hope. Each life was a testament to God's miraculous power. Margaret felt a thrill rush through her. The river was alive today, not just the waters but the hearts intertwined beside it. She decided it was time to light a candle, to send forth the blessings and prayers from their souls into the world. She held the basket aloft, calling for silence. "Let us light a candle for each of our hopes," she declared, her voice strong despite her quaking heart. "As these flames flicker, may they be reminders of the light God has placed within us." With trembling hands, she lit the first candle, allowing it to lend strength to her voice. One by one, people approached. The flames danced as they whispered prayers, some for healing, some for guidance, others simply in gratitude. However, just as the warmth surrounded them, a sudden gust swept through, stirring the leaves and sending ripples across the surface of the river. Gasps filled the air, and inexplicable glory flickered over the water, shimmering and radiant, almost blinding. "What is that?" someone murmured, trembling with the weight of the divine. Margaret stared, wide-eyed, her breath catching in her throat. The river, a mirror reflecting heaven's promise, seemed to beckon them closer. As the atmosphere thickened with an electric charge, Margaret felt the pull again. The Spirit was here, urging them. This was no ordinary day. They were standing on the cusp of something monumental. "What do you desire from us, Lord?" she asked quietly, her heart echoing the question. And then, as if the river itself replied, a surge of energy spread through the crowd, enveloping them in hope and unease. They sensed it together, a profound turning point, a moment where faith collided with divine manifestation. Would they step into this mystery? Would they embrace whatever God was about to reveal at the edge of the waters? Each heart beat like a drum of courage against the promise shimmering before them. Margaret held her breath, waiting for the unfolding of what was to come, a soul-stirring revelation that would transcend their understanding and change everything. What miracles were poised to emerge from the depths of this sacred gathering? As the revelation hung in the air, sparkling like the flickering flames of the candles, a profound silence enveloped the gathering. The river flowed with an energy almost palpable, a heartbeat of the earth itself echoing the pulse of divine intention. Margaret felt an urging within her spirit, a gentle whisper rising and swirling like the leaves above them. It was a call to prayer, a beckoning to dive deeper into the mystery unfolding. She took another breath, steadying her heart, mindful of the presence that filled the space around them. Slowly, she turned to the crowd. Their faces reflected a mosaic of hope and fear, wonder and longing. "Let's turn our hearts in prayer," she suggested, her voice imbued with calm conviction. "Let us ask God to guide us into His will." With eyes closed, they began to form a circle, hands interlocked, drawing strength from one another. The murmurs of their prayers rose, creating a soft swell, a harmony that danced upon the wind. A quiet flutter of wings overhead drew their attention. Momentarily, a flock of sparrows, flitting across the cloudless sky, an image of freedom and unity. As the wind settled, Margaret felt the weight of their collective prayers rise, intertwining beautifully as they ascended like incense, strong and fragrant, a testimony to their faith. In the stillness, Clara's voice drifted forward, warm and inviting. The Lord has great plans for each of us. Let's listen, not just with our ears, but with our spirits. Was He speaking to you in this moment? With those words, the crowd fell into silence once more, hearts attuned to the whispers of God. In this sacred instant, a soft glow began to emerge over the river. It moved like liquid light, shifting and swirling, illuminating the bank with an otherworldly radiance. Gasps of wonder rippled through the gathering. Then, as if revealing a treasure long awaited, a figure began to emerge from the shimmering depths, cloaked in light. A collective breath caught in their throats. Was it an angel? A messenger of God? Margaret's heart quivered with expectation. "Lord, guide us," she whispered, her eyes wide with awe. The figure paused, perceiving the hearts that yearned for clarity. "Your prayers have risen like smoke, sweet and true." It spoke, its voice gentle yet powerful, echoing through the crowd. "Each of you is called for a time such as this, to be vessels of hope, to illuminate the dark places of this world." Fear and exhilaration danced within Margaret. She could feel the truth of this proclamation echoing through the very core of her being. The congregation shifted, eyes bright with understanding. "What shall we do?" someone cried, the question spilling forth like water from spring. "Embrace your purpose," the figure declared, the light intensifying around it. "For there is a path before you, lined with miracles yet to be revealed. Take heart and move forward in faith. Each step you take will lead you closer to the destiny I have prepared for you." As those words resonated, Margaret felt something shifting within her, like chains breaking free. A wave of encouragement washed over her, stirring a passion she had never before known. "Together we will walk this path," she proclaimed, emboldened by the presence surrounding them. "We will share His love and grace with all." The crowd erupted in affirmations, shouts of praise, and tears of joy. Each heart awakened anew, ignited by the promise of transformation. As the light began to recede, the figure lingered only a moment longer before vanishing into the depths of the river. A hush fell, yet the air crackled with excitement, reverberating with the divine words spoken. Margaret glanced around at the faces, each filled with purpose and conviction. They were forever changed, no longer merely townsfolk, but a community destined to carry forth God's light, radiant in His love. "Let us prepare our hearts for the journey ahead," she exhorted, "for what we witness today is only the beginning. God is calling us to act, to step into His divine unfolding." As murmurs of agreement echoed, Margaret sensed an electric anticipation in the air. She looked once more at the river, now an ordinary stream again, but she understood it had become a threshold into new beginnings. What further wonders awaited them as they followed this calling? What divine lessons would be unveiled along their shared path? The mystery lingered, promising intimate encounters that awaited at the next turn. The air was alive with excitement, a fervent energy surrounding the gathered souls. Margaret's heart was racing, each beat igniting her passion. As she looked into the faces of her companions, she saw determination, a fierce willingness to step into the unknown. "God has revealed something beautiful to us," she began, her voice steady yet thrilled. "It is now our turn to carry this light into the world. We must be brave and faithful." Clara, ever the anchor of the group, nodded earnestly. "But how do we begin? Where do we go from here?" Margaret felt the weight of that question. The call had been clear, yet the path to follow remained shrouded in mystery. It was as if the river spoke of direction, but offered no clear map. She paused, allowing a moment of silence to settle, listening for the divine guidance that had washed over them just moments before. "Let us journey to the old church by the edge of town," she finally said, recalling the abandoned structure that once thrived with worshippers. "A place of deep history and a beacon of hope. Perhaps we can restore it, a sanctuary for those who seek His light." Excitement buzzed in the air like bees in springtime. Whispers flowed through the group, each person eager to take part. Margaret felt the assurance of God's presence with them, urging them onward. Arriving at the old church, the sun dipped low, painting the sky with soft pinks and deep purples. Time had taken its toll on the once great building, but its spirit still shimmered beneath the layers of dust and decay. Margaret stepped forward, running her hand along the weathered stones. "Here lies a story waiting to be told," she said softly, her words almost a prayer. "If we care for it, this place can flourish again." The group rallied around her, their hearts ignited by the purpose. They began to clear debris, laughter mingling with shared moments of hope. With each stone they lifted, they were not just removing dirt. They were reclaiming a space that had long been silent. As night fell, a campfire flickered outside, and they gathered beneath a blanket of stars. The air was thick with fellowship, and Margaret felt a warmth spreading within her, a confirmation of their mission. "Let us share what we feel God is doing in us," she proposed. Inspired, one by one, they shared their joys, fears, and the whispers they sensed in their hearts. Clara spoke of a vision. She had a gathering of souls, united in love and prayer. "I see us bringing people together, a community of seekers." Another recalled an image of healing, where broken hearts found restoration in the church's embrace. Margaret listened, her own heart swelling. These were not just words. They were threads weaving a vibrant tapestry of God's intention. Together, they were creating something beautiful. That night, beneath the vast celestial canopy, Margaret felt the stirrings of something more. They were not on merely a physical journey to revive a building. They were embarking on a divine mission to awaken a community. What if our actions, right here and now, ripple out beyond what we can see? Someone quietly pondered. What if God is ready to do something extraordinary through us? The weight of that thought hung in the stillness. Margaret sensed the divine excitement in her spirit, chills running down her arms. What wonders could the Lord have planned? The possibilities felt as limitless as the stars above. As dawn approached, and the first light shone upon their faces, Margaret knew this was just the beginning. They had answered the call, and now they awaited the unfolding of God's purpose. "What is coming, Lord?" she thought, peering into the brightening horizon. What divine surprises await us? Her heart quickened with anticipation, not knowing the incredible transformations and revelations soon to be unveiled. They stood upon the threshold, ready to walk forth with faith. What new challenges were on the horizon? And how would they respond when faced with the unexpected? The journey had only begun, and the adventure promised everything. The sun rose slowly, bathing the old church in a golden glow. Margaret awoke early, a sense of purpose urging her from sleep. She quietly stepped outside, drawn to the stillness of the morning. The air was crisp, filled with the fragrance of damp earth and lingering hope. As she stood there, feeling the gentle breeze on her skin, she closed her eyes, surrendering her heart to prayer. "Lord," she whispered, "we come before you, eager and open. Guide us in this calling. Show us your way." The soft rustle of leaves seemed to respond, and a smile crept upon her lips. Margaret felt as though the very nature around her held its breath, waiting. In that moment, the gravity of their mission dawned upon her. This was not merely about restoring a building. It was about awakening a community to God's love and light. When she returned to the camp, her friends were gathering, eyes bright with anticipation. Clara approached her, her expression radiant. "Did you feel it? The Spirit is moving already." "Yes," Margaret replied, her pulse quickening. "I can sense the divine energy surrounding us. We have to act, and we have to do it together." As the group convened, everyone shared their thoughts, that bubbling excitement filling the air like the crackle of the campfire. It was Clara who first suggested a plan. "What if we spend a day with the locals? We need their stories, their hearts. This community has a pulse, and we need to connect with it." Nods of agreement rippled through the group. They all felt an urgency to bridge the gaps between them and those who had once called this church home. Setting out into the town, they were met with hesitant and curious glances. Some unveiled smiles, while others remained guarded. But the warmth of their purpose shone through, drawing people closer. As they approached the first group, a couple of older folks sipping coffee outside the local cafe, Margaret took a deep breath and broke the ice. "Good morning. We're here to restore the old church and bring it back to life. We'd love to hear your stories about what that place used to mean for you." The couple exchanged surprised looks, then the woman began to warm to the idea. "Oh, that church, it once held the laughter of children and the tears of mourning. It was a refuge. But those days have faded." With every story that unfolded, Margaret felt conviction take root in her heart. The tales of growth, love, and heartbreak joined together, forging a tapestry that bridged the past and the present. Each tale was a glimmer, flickering with the potential for new beginnings. As the sky transitioned to twilight, life surged through the gathered souls. Clara pointed to the horizon. "Look, the way the sun sets, those colors are a reminder of his grace filling the world anew." Amidst laughter and tears, concerns turned to prayer. They gathered, hands clasped and hearts united, pleading for guidance as they prepared for the changes ahead. Margaret's spirit soared as they ended their day, the divine presence palpable in their fellowship. "We are his chosen ones," she said, her voice resonating with conviction. "And together, we will witness a transformation." As night blanketed the town, a soft unease crept into Margaret's heart. What awaited them in the days to come? She felt a shift in the air, a whisper of something profound brewing just beyond their insight. What will it take to awaken this community fully? She pondered, her mind racing with possibilities. All she knew for certain was that they were on the brink of something remarkable. The path lay uncertain ahead, yet their hearts swelled with hope and faith. Little did they know, the world they were about to embrace would challenge them in ways they could never imagine. What trials would emerge in the pursuit of this divine mission? Would they stand together to face the storm? The answers waited in the divine silence, ripe with anticipation. Margaret awoke to an unsettling stillness that enveloped the camp like a shroud. The sun had not yet risen. Its absence felt keenly in the chill of dawn. It struck her a deep sense of yearning for something beyond the tangible, something that awaited the right moment to reveal itself. She felt compelled to take a solitary walk, seeking clarity in the half-light. As she moved quietly through the dew-kissed grass, Margaret's thoughts drifted back to the stories shared the night before. Each one, a stream of life flowing into her heart, filled her with an indescribable energy. It was clear that the journey ahead would demand every ounce of courage and faith she could muster. A flicker of fear danced at the edges of her resolve. Uncertainty loomed like shadows lurking behind her. "Father," she breathed, lifting her eyes toward the sky slowly brightening with promise. "I need your guidance more than ever. Show me the way." Just then, a soft chirping from nearby trees punctuated the silence. The sound felt like a gentle nudge from above, a reminder that creation itself spoke of hope and renewal. Feeling revitalized, Margaret returned to her friends, who were just beginning to stir. Clara was the first to notice her arrival. "I could sense you were searching for something. Did you hear from the Lord?" Margaret smiled. "More like he reminded me that we are part of something much greater. A community is like a tapestry. We are all woven together through stories, through struggles. We must honor that as we move forward." The group gathered, the air charging with new energy, ready to embark on their mission. Their first stop would be the old church. Its weathered stones retained echoes of laughter and prayer, memories waiting to greet new beginnings. As they approached, the sunlight broke through the clouds, casting rays that lit up the broken stained glass windows. It felt as if heaven was shining down upon them, cheering them on. In that moment, they stood before the edifice, each heart echoing a silent prayer of commitment. "Let us start by clearing this space," Clara suggested, her voice steady. "Let us clear away the remnants of neglect, so we can lay down a foundation for something beautiful." With purpose, they set to work, hands untangling weeds and debris, spirits lifting with each transformation they made. Laughter flourished amidst their labor, and Margaret noticed how each act of love was a prayer in motion. The community spirit began to swirl around them as locals wandered by, drawn in by the sight of restoration. An elderly man hesitated at the edge of the property, his brow furrowed with uncertainty. Margaret approached him, feeling inspired to bridge that gap. "Good day, sir. Can you share what this place meant to you?" His hesitant gaze softened at her genuine interest. It was a heart. Life pulsed through these walls. Friends gathered, sorrows shared. But like a forgotten song, it fell silent. As they exchanged words, more and more townsfolk began to gather, curious to contribute their memories, their love. Each story flowed like a river, feeding the roots of a shared vision. Soon, hands young and old came together in joyful unity as the church began its transformation, fueled by a love reaching back through generations. Yet, as dusk approached, an unsettling energy tingled in the air, reminding Margaret of the mysteries still hidden. What more awaited them as they delved deeper? "Everything is changing," she whispered under her breath. "But what God has not yet revealed may challenge us to the core." With resolve strengthening in her heart, she looked around at her friends, their eyes glowing with determination. They were in this together, propelled by the promise of divine purpose. What storm awaited them on this path of hope? Would they embrace the turbulent waves ahead? The sacred silence around them held the truth, a question lingering in the air, what was about to be unveiled in their journey? Margaret awoke the next day, the sun peeking through the trees like a shy child emerging from play. There was no lingering chill now. Warmth wrapped around her like a mother's embrace. Excitement bubbled in her chest like fresh spring water. Today, they would continue their work restoring not just the church, but the spirit of their community. After breakfast, Clara gathered everyone in a circle beneath the tall oak near the campsite. The vibrant leaves rustled, whispering secrets only they could hear. "Today, we will invite the town to join us. Let us create an event, an open house. We'll share what we've done so far and help them see the beauty that is being restored here." Her enthusiasm spread, sparking smiles and encouragement among the group. Margaret felt a spark of inspiration. Perhaps we could also share our stories. Let them see how we connect us all, how we each face trials and triumphs. Yes, came an excited cheer from Ben, who had been quiet until then. "I want to share the story of my grandmother. She had a dream of rebuilding this place." His voice carried conviction, igniting a fire in the hearts around him. As they planned, laughter mingled with purpose. Margaret could see that they were no longer just individuals. They formed a vibrant tapestry of faith and hope. Each thread of their experiences wove into a grand design. The labor of love unified their hearts. By mid-afternoon, they stood in the churchyard, smiles broadening as townsfolk began to arrive. Faces familiar and new, wary yet curious. For a moment, Margaret felt like she stood on sacred ground, each heartbeat echoing with a rhythm of shared stories and memories. The air filled with chatter, and Margaret found herself speaking to a small group of children as they marveled at the stained glass. "This is a place where dreams were woven into reality," she said, pointing to the intricate patterns that bathed their faces in color. "Just like our lives, we have light and shadows. Yet together, we create something beautiful." As laughter erupted around her, an elderly woman approached Margaret cautiously, her silver hair glistening in the fading light. "And what do you believe will happen here?" she asked, her voice trembling like a crisp autumn leaf. Margaret took a deep breath. "I believe that faith is like a seed. When nurtured, it grows into something mighty. We are planting seeds today in our hearts and in this community." With each word, she felt warmth radiate from the group, their collective energy igniting a profound sense of unity. The children danced between the adults, their joy a reminder of the hope that flourished in innocence. But as the laughter echoed and the sun began to dip low, a sudden chill swept through the gathering, snuffing out the warmth momentarily. An uneasy silence settled, like a shroud around them. Margaret's heart raced. The sky darkened strangely as clouds gathered above. "Is it about to rain?" someone whispered, casting nervous glances upward. Margaret resisted the urge to quail under the cool breeze. "No," she murmured softly. "It feels different, more like a storm-esque warning." Just then, a flash of movement caught her eye. A group of ravens circled above, cawing in urgency. Margaret's heart thudded. A sense of awakening gripped her. It wasn't just the weather. Something unseen was stirring a shift she could not yet comprehend, but sensed deeply. What is God trying to show us? She pondered, her mind racing. In that moment, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation, the air vibrating as if the invisible was on the cusp of becoming visible. What message bore the weight of these clouds? What awaited them once they peeled away the layers, like petals from a flower, to expose the vibrant core? Could they withstand the forces about to be unleashed? With eyes turning to the heavens, all felt the shift as secret, revealing its whisper in a language only the soul could understand. Would they embrace it, or would the unfolding redemptive power be too great to bear? The mystery tightened around them, leaving them breathless. The storm felt like a call, a beckoning into something greater. Margaret glanced at her friends, their eyes wide with wonder. What was about to sprout forth from this moment? What divine revelation awaited them next? The storm clouds swirled above, dark and heavy, but within Margaret's heart burned the warmth of divine purpose. She raised her hands, steadying her breath. "People of this community," she began, her voice unwavering even amid the gathering chaos. "Let us gather our strength, for something powerful is coming. Hold fast to each other and to the light we've ignited together." As Margaret spoke, the winds howled, but the children's laughter hung like a melody in the air. They danced in defiance of the impending storm, innocence swirling amidst uncertainty. The elderly woman, who had questioned Margaret earlier, stepped closer. "You have ignited something here, haven't you?" she said, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Margaret nodded, sensing a bond formed in shared faith. She turned to the crowd, their faces illuminated with shared expectancy. "This gathering is not just about restoring these stones. It's about reviving our spirits. We have stood on the brink of despair, but by the grace of God, we are now united. We shall rise together." The people murmured in agreement, voices growing bolder. Clara stepped forward, her conviction palpable. "Let us lift our voices to the heavens. Let us invite God into this storm." They began to sing, a sweet sound wafting upwards, as if they were calling the heavens to join them in song. With voices raised, they melded harmony and faith into the atmosphere, creating a bubble of sacred space amid the impending tempest. It was as though the storm itself paused to listen, enveloping them in a holy cocoon. Every note sang of hope. Every word expressed trust in God's unfathomable power. Then, as if responding to their faith, the storm broke. Lightning flashed, illuminating the landscape, and a mighty voice seemed to echo through the air. "Fear not," it declared, resonating like a drumbeat through the heart of each believer. Margaret's heart fluttered with awe and joy. "Look," shouted Jacob, pointing towards the river. As the first drops of rain fell, they shimmered against the backdrop of the lightning. They splashed down like blessings, awakening the earth beneath them. Everyone gasped, eyes wide, as colors soaked up the light, reflecting a dazzling array of hues. A wave surged through the crowd, a palpable feeling of communion, connecting them deeper than words. The storm was no longer a threat. It was a manifestation of God's presence washing over them, cleansing each worry and doubt. Margaret felt the warmth of connection wrap around her like a shawl. "Form a circle," she shouted, realizing they would accomplish something monumental in unity. They joined hands, forming a line that stretched around the perimeter of their sacred gathering. Each individual was a thread in the tapestry of faith, bound together as one. "Together we will claim our healing, our hope," Margaret cried, her eyes glistening with fervor. "This is our moment of consecration. Raise your prayers. Let them rise and meet the heavens." The sentiment rushed like wildfire. They began speaking their dreams aloud, an elder hoping to see the church come alive again, a young mother praying for her child as healing, families desiring community banded together in love. Each prayer floated skyward, merging into a glorious symphony of voices. As silence fell, a soft glow began to emanate from the river once more. The water sparkled with new life, pulsing rhythmically as though responding to the prayers offered up. The crowd gasped, faces turning towards the divine radiance unfolding before them. Margaret's heart swelled as the light grew brighter and brighter, revealing glorious hues dancing across the surface. This is what we've been waiting for. She realization pivoted her understanding. The transformation we've sought lies not just in our healing, but in how we reveal God to the world. With that revelation blossoming in her heart, she stepped forward, feeling the pulse of the Spirit in her veins. Let this river represent our faith. Let it be a conduit for healing and hope. Each one of us carries that light, and we shall share it far and wide. The crowd erupted in praise, hands lifted towards the sky, their voices strong and unwavering in declaration and worship. Jointly, they stepped into the water, the coolness electrifying their senses. One by one, they splashed the water, each drop carrying a piece of their faith, a prayer ready to touch every corner in need of hope. The river, once a mere stream, became a river of blessings, ready to pour forth to surrounding towns, ready to whet the thirst for truth and love. In that moment, they were no longer just a village. They were a beacon of light, a testament to unwavering faith knitted together through trials and triumphs. The storm had awakened them to their purpose amidst the chaos, and they realized the extraordinary power within them. Margaret paused, joy bubbling up inside her as she soaked in the events vows shared, prayers lifted, and hope overflowing as the water swirled around their feet. They stood poised on the edge of a new beginning, feeling the boundless possibilities lying ahead. Together, their journey had only just begun. They were now equipped to share their revelations and carry that divine light into the world. Their transformation was not just for them, but meant to bless many. Each step forward would be a step towards brighter tomorrows, a journey stitched together with the fabric of faith. Margaret knew God was leading them toward the greater purpose yet to unfold. What awaited them as they took this faith forward together? Now, brothers and sisters, as this story comes near its end, I urge you subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed this spiritual algorithm, because it truly makes a difference. Don't be shy in the comments. Share your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. And I challenge you share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this divine manifestation. You need to stand with God's servants in spreading His love, and this is the moment to show your unwavering support. Don't wait even one more second.